These TikTokers built a following showing off luxury renovations and custom homes, but now prosecutors are saying this is a massive fraud scheme that left more than 40 North Texas families with half-built houses and financial damages. I mean, come on, guys. If you're going to commit crimes, why are you doing it in public? Well, according to court records, Christopher and Raquel Judge took nearly $5 million from homeowners who believed they were building their forever homes, only to watch that money completely disappear and a couple plead guilty to wire fraud and conspiracy. Well, according to court records, Christopher and Raquel Judge took nearly $5 million from homeowners who believed they were building their forever homes, only to watch the money disappear and the couple plead guilty to wire fraud conspiracy.
Hey guys, I'm Chris.
And I'm Raquel.
They're a married Texas couple who pitched clients immaculate homes like this.
You get to pick a contemporary floor plan.
Using social media to help promote their business.
And you get to move in knowing that you don't have to make any repairs.
But instead, left some clients with this. Chris and Raquel Judge pleading guilty to defrauding more than 40 customers out of nearly $5 million worth of unfinished projects.
How are people this brazen? If you are committing fraud this publicly, it's essentially like throwing around bricks in a glass house, or a house built by them, because apparently those are disasters as well. So Christopher and Rochelle Judge, they were selling this idea of these dream homes that you can move into without worrying about maintenance or anything going wrong. So I guess from the outside, everything about the Judge DFW LLC looked somewhat legit. And that's mainly because the couple marketed themselves online as a one-stop shop for custom homes, renovations, and just interior design in general, which seems like a good deal when you're looking to make your forever home. You could just go to this one business to build a home, renovate the house, and make it exactly how you want it to look like. And Chris and Raquel, they would post these glossy images and videos all across TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, and they caught the attention of a whole bunch of families who were scrolling on these apps. And according to the United States Attorney's Office in Texas, they also falsely represented that Chris was an architect, which, spoiler, he's not. These people literally watched HGTV home renovations and they were like, hey, I guess we can just LARP as them. What could go wrong? Well, unfortunately for them, they had no training and just kind of hinted through a lot of social media posts that Chris was an actual architect. Sadly for the homeowners though, the pitch worked. And that's the problem with a lot of these creator scams, because people see that big follower count beside their name and automatically assume that means credibility. No. Credibility is earned over a long period of time. You get credibility for doing good business, doing what you say you're going to do. Followers on social media, they just come from making engaging videos. But just because you make engaging videos does not mean you should be trusted with renovating someone's house. I mean, this is just so sad as well, because obviously most creators aren't scammers, but these people definitely were. As one of the victims, Kristen Newman, said that she hired the judges after finally paying off her law school loans, believing that she was going to do everything right.
I was planning on kind of growing into this house.
Kristen Newman telling our affiliate WFAA she hired the young couple to build her dream home. The couple offered custom architecture, construction, and interior design services at below market rates. They started construction projects and accepted multiple installment payments from victims, but never completed those projects. Lane Simmons and his wife paid them about $200,000 to remodel their home.
My house, everything that they did is wrong. We had a family friend that's also a contractor come over and look over everything. And he's like, man, there's a lot of this is unsafe. This is like the worst job I've probably ever seen.
Prosecutors say the guilty couple used some of their nearly $5 million swindle on personal mortgage payments and plastic surgery.
Oh man, I mean, this is just awful. And according to the victims, Raquel handled most of the communication, while Christopher was introduced as the architect and builder. So, I mean, I see why this seemed like a good business deal for people, because the prices were decent and the judges were actually playing up their confidence here a whole bunch. Even though it seems like they were frauds who had no idea what they were doing. Well, I guess they were just LARPing as contractors and a whole bunch of people got hurt financially. But it definitely takes a whole lot of dedication to the bit to show up and complete a bunch of awful work and then keep posting videos like you just didn't ruin someone's house. But apparently, those below market bids were the core part of the scheme. Victims received low quotes, signed, design, and build contracts, and then began wiring installment payments to Judge DFW. Once construction started, the money kept flowing, and so did the excuses. So the U.S. Attorney's Office say that the defendants started construction projects and accepted multiple installment payments from victims, but never completed these projects, often leaving victims without a completed house. And obviously, home projects don't happen overnight, so it wasn't like the victims knew right off the bat that this was a scam. So what they have to go off of in the beginning is how professional the judges seemed. And according to the victims, they seemed super professional. One of the victims' names is Callie Simmons. And her mom, Shelly, said that the first day was so impressive. They came in with a full crew. they had it stripped down to the studs that first day. So I mean, at the very least, they were really good at the destroying stuff part of everything. But looking back, maybe that's because they didn't care too much about what they were tearing down, but who knows? That first day good feeling, though, didn't last for too long, apparently, for the victims, because in Callie's case, it took about 2 months before stuff started slowing down and the quality worries started. And I guess after that initial gut-sinking feeling, stuff started to fall apart fast. There were construction delays and materials she paid for, like windows, doors, basic necessities. They never arrived. And when she finally asked for the money back for the work that hadn't been done, she says that Christopher told her that he didn't have it anymore. What do you mean you don't have the money? Like, what? Then I guess saying, yeah, I don't have the money anymore, he just stopped talking to her and never came back, which is crazy.
Then it got to, hey, I think you're overcharging for this. At one point, I overpaid for something. I said, hey, can I have that money back? Because you haven't done it, and that's part of this other draw. And he said, I don't have it anymore.
How do you even respond to something like that? Like, what do you mean you don't have the money I gave you for the house that isn't done? Plea documents show that more than 40 victims across 6 northern Texas counties were affected, spanning at least 24 construction projects, with losses totaling approximately $4.8 million. One couple alone paid the judges nearly $364,000. How do you get yourself into this deep of a hole? I mean, obviously, the judge's first mistake is lying about their abilities and education and setting off to build a scam in the first place. But surely, at some point, they had to know that this was going to lead to prison. Prosecutors say the money wasn't sitting untouched, waiting for materials or subcontractors. According to court records, the judges took victims' payments in a single operating account using installment payments from one family to fund unrelated projects and to support their own lifestyle. So the finances weren't managed at all. Not only could they not work on the house correctly, they had no understanding of how to manage an account. And as the project stalled and the homes were left half built, inspectors started raising alarms that the work that had been done often just was incomplete, and it was completely unsafe. So by the time many families realized something was seriously wrong, the damage was financially and structurally done. And as projects dragged on with no clear answers, several homeowners brought in independent inspectors to figure out what was actually happening inside of their homes. But the problems were everywhere. Floors cracking, tile falling within weeks, unsafe framing. In the Simmons' home, inspectors found that the front and the back decks and the interior stairwell had to be torn out and rebuilt entirely. So they took a whole bunch of money from people for work that didn't get done, and then they left them with a bunch more problems that's just going to cost the victims even more money. Federal court records say the judges collected installment payments, failed to complete work, performed substandard construction, and did not pay the subcontractors. And while families were living with exposed framing, sinking floors, and homes that couldn't safely be occupied, prosecutors say the money meant to fix these problems were being spent otherwhere. Yeah, the judges used hundreds of thousands of dollars for personal expenses, including $27,000 on mortgage payments, $82,000 on Amazon purchases, and approximately $10,000 on plastic surgery. Imagine being a homeowner and your house is nowhere near being finished, then when the woman you paid all this money to suddenly walks in with a new nose. That is just diabolical. I don't know if that's the plastic surgery she spent the money on, but that would be crazy. Also, what were they buying on Amazon that cost almost $100,000? I would be so depressed as a victim here. Like, what do you mean? You got plastic surgery and my front door doesn't work. But CBS Texas reported that records also showed spending on rent, tuition, and luxury items. For Kristen Newman, the financial fallout was awful. NBC DFW reported that she spent another $200,000 on top of the $200,000 she already paid to the judges just to finish and repair her home. In her case, she actually had to sell the home and move back with her parents. Dude, they are going to get what's coming for them. Making people go homeless with your scams is a special type of evil. Another victim, Jeremy Congleton, told NBC DFW that the consequences upended his family's entire life. After the judges abandoned the project, Congleton said that he was forced to file for bankruptcy. His family of 4 lived in a RV for 18 months while he finished the house himself. That is awful. How can they do this to other people? This is just so unfathomable to me. Congleton said that what he owes me and what we've paid out of pocket and credit card debt, having to file bankruptcy, and so on, was about $250,000. And Christopher and Raquel Judge used social media to get clients with these low bids and these fast turnaround promises, collected large sums of money, and then let projects stall while continuing to demand payments. And as inspectors dug into the damage, regulators started asking who exactly was allowed to be doing the work in the first place. Because as it turns out, one of the judge's biggest selling points wasn't true at all. Because I mean, at this point, a lot of contractor horror stories might sound familiar. There's the whole project stalling, money running out, homeowners cleaning up the mess, and so on and so on. But prosecutors say this case crossed a very specific line. And that's the line that turned this case from being civil into federal crime. Because Christopher Judge wasn't just bad at his job. According to court records, he wasn't qualified to be doing it at all. What brings me back to the whole point of Chris alluding to himself as an architect when he had no qualifications at all. Epic, dude. But remember, when Kristen Newman hired the judges, Christopher was introduced as the architect and builder. And in May of 2022, the Texas Board of Architectural Examiners issued a formal warning to Christopher Judge and Judge DFW, saying that he violated the Texas Administrative Code by referring to himself as a licensed architect when he was not. Despite that warning, prosecutors say he just continued to lie. So not only was Christopher lying about his abilities, but the judges just kept marketing Judge DFW as a full-service operation after not completing dozens of projects. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the scheme just kept growing. So from August of 2020 to January of 2023, Christopher and Raquel Judge defrauded over 40 victims across 6 counties in the Northern District of Texas. It seems like the whole period after the pandemic was just the heyday for scammery. But victims, they wired in their payments and the checks were deposited, and court records show that the money didn't stay where it was supposed to.
Now, once the customer agreed to hire the defendants, the customer would sign a contract and pay the defendants in multiple installments via wire transfer or check, thus causing interstate wire transmissions. Many victims were instructed to wire installment payment money to the defendant's Chase business account. Any checks were made payable to the business and deposited into the business account. Once the victim's money was deposited, however, the defendants often transferred the money into other jointly held Chase bank accounts and used the money to perpetuate the scheme and for personal living expenses, including luxury items.
In other words, money for one family's dream home was being used to patch holes in another unfinished job. Essentially, they were running this like a Ponzi scheme. The good news is, when federal agents finally caught up with the judges, the case moved fast. Christopher Judge pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud and now is facing 20 years in federal prison. Raquel Judge pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and faces up to 5 years behind bars. Both also face restitution, fines, and supervised releases. Sentencing for Raquel is scheduled for April 14, 2026, and Christopher is set for May 12, 2026. And by the time this case reached federal court, many of the families affected by Judge DFW had already spent years trying to pick up the pieces on their own. All the victims who spoke to news networks have said they believe most of their money is gone for good. Restitution has been ordered, but recovering hundreds of thousands of dollars from defendants facing prison time unfortunately is not very likely. What they do have now is knowing that the couple won't be able to take on new clients. But the main thing I'm sitting here with is, what was the plan here? Like, did they really think they could just keep taking on projects, keep collecting payments, and never finish them? Did they not think they were going to go to prison? Where is the logic here, guys? Did they watch HGTV and be like, honestly, we could do that. Let's just LARP as them. Because this wasn't just one bad renovation or one job that went sideways. No, this is like the whole thing was just fraud. But hey, at least no one can get scammed by them again, hopefully. But other than that, if you're new here, feel free to subscribe, drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.